100% bodybuilding saved my life, because training is a form of stress, you know, and living a healthy lifestyle.
Under the blinding stage lights, cheers turned into screams. From Wanderson to Silva Moreira's tragic collapse to Neil Andrews' heartbreaking final moments, the bodybuilding world has witnessed farewells no one expected. These athletes chased perfection, but their final moments revealed a darker, heartbreaking reality hidden behind the muscle and glory. Wanderson to Silva Moreira. We begin with perhaps the most remarkable story on this entire list because of its tragic ending. On May 10, 2025, the Brazilian bodybuilding community gathered at the José Abreu Gymnasium in Campo Grande for the Pantanal Bodybuilding Championship, an event that serves as a gateway to prestigious competitions like Mr. Olympia Brazil and the Arnold Classic South America. What should have been a celebration of human achievement would instead become a scene of unimaginable tragedy. Wanderson da Silva Moreira, a 30-year-old father of two from Rondonópolis, Mato Grosso, had trained his entire adult life for moments like this. He was a recognized figure in regional bodybuilding, excelling in the classic physique category with first-place finishes in multiple competitions. 3 days before the event, Wanderson posted a touching photo with his wife on social media, making a promise that still haunts those who read it today. "Today I came without you, but I'll do what I can to take one more home," referring to bringing home another trophy for his family. It was a promise he would never be able to keep. According to friends who accompanied him to the event, Wanderson had mentioned feeling unwell earlier in the day, but insisted on competing. Those close to him also revealed that he had a history of high blood pressure, a condition that made what happened next tragically predictable in hindsight. During the live broadcast of the championship, Wanderson appeared smiling, showcasing his physique in 3 presentations. He completed his posing routine to the cheers of the crowd, but as he walked off stage, witnesses noticed something terribly wrong. He appeared unsteady on his feet before collapsing backstage. What followed was a desperate battle for his life. The event's medical team responded within seconds, and additional SAMU units with ICUs arrived within 5 minutes. Emergency responders worked on him for over an hour, performing every resuscitation attempt known to modern medicine. But at approximately 3 p.m. that afternoon, Wanderson da Silva Moreira was pronounced dead from what was reported as a massive cardiac arrest. His coach released a heartbreaking tribute that captured what this young man meant to those around him. "I have no words to describe the depth of sadness and shock I still feel. He was not just an athlete, he was a great friend, a family man, a man with a huge heart who was always willing to help those who needed him." The event organizers confirmed that his family has been reported to have arterial hypertension, suggesting a possible genetic predisposition that may have contributed to the tragedy. Wanderson left behind a wife and 2 young children who will never see their father walk through the door again, never feel his embrace, never watch him bring home another trophy. His death sent shockwaves through Brazilian bodybuilding and highlighted the extreme physical risks that come with competitive contest preparation. Then, we have a story of Neil Andrews. Neil Andrews was, and still is, a bodybuilding legend from Swansea, Wales. A 12-time Mr. Wales champion, Neil had spent decades building one of the most decorated amateur careers in Welsh bodybuilding history. He competed at the highest levels in the PCA and other prestigious federations, and his name was synonymous with dedication and excellence in the Welsh fitness community. But in 2022, Neil's entire world came crashing down around him after what should have been a completely routine dental procedure. What followed was absolutely nothing short of a nightmare that would have destroyed lesser men entirely. Neil developed bacterial endocarditis that severely damaged his heart valves, leading to congestive heart failure that left him fighting for his very survival.
March 22, I ended up going to the dentist, routine scale and polish. And not to put anyone off going to the dentist, but went to the dentist, scale and polish, and when they were cleaning my gum line, somehow oral bacteria got into my bloodstream. The bacteria went down to my heart, latched onto my valve and ate my valve away. And then ended up in hospital, in intensive care a week later, and then basically getting rushed down to open heart surgery. And, you know, to have the surgeons at the bottom of my bed telling me that, you know, that I'm so physically fit and so physically strong, that is the only reason I was able to hold on, you know, for that week.
He spent an agonizing 2.5 months in the hospital, losing 20 kilograms of hard-earned muscle, more than 3 stone of the physique he had spent a lifetime building. The night before his emergency heart surgery, Neil received devastating news from his medical team that would break any person's spirit. His consultant, Mr. Afzal Zaidi, delivered words that no one ever wants to hear. Neil recounted the moment. "We don't know how you are alive. You have been in acute heart failure for 2 weeks, but you are so physically fit and strong you are here. We've got 8 hours to try and do something, or you won't see another 8 hours. Personally, I'd get your affairs in order because you're in a bad way. Facing what he believed would be his final night on this earth, Neil did something incredibly heartbreaking. He made a video recording for his daughter and wrote his will on his phone. Those unsent goodbye videos, messages he recorded believing he would never wake up from surgery, represent one of the most emotionally devastating moments in bodybuilding history. "I honestly didn't think I would survive," Neil later admitted. "My very first thought when I came around after surgery was, I'm alive." Against all odds, Neil survived the operation, but his journey was far from over. Recovery was absolutely grueling. He had to relearn how to walk and couldn't even curl a 2.5 Hakuner dumbbell, a humbling experience for a man who had spent his life moving mountains of iron. But here's where Neil's story becomes truly inspirational. He didn't just survive, he thrived. By 2024, he was back competing. In November 2025, the impossible happened. Neil Andrews earned his IFBB Pro card, a milestone that crowned his remarkable comeback and proved that the human body, when built on years of dedicated training, is capable of incredible resilience. Kadu Santos. In July 2025, a video went viral throughout the Brazilian fitness community that captured a moment of pure, unbridled joy. Ricardo Nolasco dos Santos, known to his 13,000 Instagram followers as Kadu Santos, had just completed his posing routine at a bodybuilding competition when he dropped to one knee and proposed to his girlfriend of 4 years, Sabrina Volman. The crowd erupted. Sabrina said yes. It was the kind of romantic moment that dreams are made of. Just 3 months later, Kadu Santos was dead. The 31-year-old from Rio Grande do Sul was nothing short of a legend in the Brazilian bodybuilding scene. An 11-time bodybuilding champion and a 2-time overall champion of the prestigious muscle contest, Kadu had built a reputation as one of the most disciplined and charismatic competitors in the country. Coaches and friends remembered him as exceptionally dedicated, someone who inspired countless others in the Gaucho bodybuilding community. Beyond his competitive achievements, Kadu was also a personal trainer and online consultant who frequently shared his intense training routines, diet advice, and competition preparation with his growing social media following. He wasn't just building his own physique, he was helping others build theirs. On October 20th, 2025, tragedy struck with devastating suddenness. According to his mother, Eva Nolasco, Kadu had been going through a week of emotional distress following the death of his beloved pet cat, Baku. The grief had taken a visible toll on the normally upbeat athlete. His mother revealed the heartbreaking sequence of events. His blood pressure rose and he decided to go out for dinner with his partner and friends to try to relax a bit, but relaxation never came. Kadu collapsed into seizures and was rushed to the hospital. Despite the medical team's best efforts, they could not save him. He died from a stroke and lung infection, which his mother claims were triggered by the emotional trauma of losing his pet. Reports indicate he also had pre-existing conditions, including a congenital cerebral cavernoma and possible cardiac arrhythmia. His father, Amori Santos, confirmed the devastating news on social media with words that shattered hearts across Brazil. "The saddest day of my life. My beloved son." But perhaps the most heartbreaking response came from Sabrina, the woman who had said yes to his proposal just months earlier, the woman who was planning their wedding, the woman who thought she had a lifetime ahead with the man she loved. She posted a message in Portuguese that needs no translation to understand its pain. "Nos vemos na próxima vida." See you in the next life. Fellow bodybuilder Diego Wiegand offered his own tribute. Today, heaven is certainly celebrating. Kadu was completely out of the ordinary, incredible as an athlete, coach, and even more so as a person. Kadu Santos was buried in Novo Hamburgo, just outside Porto Alegre, leaving behind a legacy as both a multi-campeon and an influencer who touched thousands of lives, and a fiancé who will forever remember that magical moment on stage when everything seemed possible. Some tragedies happen in an instant. One moment, everything is perfect. The next, the world has changed forever. Sfiso Lungelo Tabete. Sfiso Lungelo Tabete was just 23 years old, but he had already accomplished more than most bodybuilders achieve in a lifetime. Born in 1994 in Umlazi, south of Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, he had risen from modest beginnings to become an IFBB Junior World Champion in the up to 75 kg category, earning recognition as one of South Africa's top young talents. Muscle Evolution magazine described him as a young man with a bright future, and they weren't wrong. Sfiso was known not just for his impressive physique, but for his showmanship and crowd-pleasing energy. He had a charismatic presence that lit up every stage he stepped onto. He also had a signature move, a backflip. Sfiso had performed this backflip countless times before without incident. It was his trademark, his way of energizing the crowd and showing that bodybuilding could be entertaining as well as athletic. Just a month earlier, at the IFBB Muscle Militia Grand Prix in Johannesburg, he had successfully performed the exact same backflip during his routine. On August 5, 2017, Sfiso entered the stage at a national championship competition in a community hall in D section, Umlazi, his hometown. The crowd, filled with friends, family, and fans who had watched him grow, cheered as the announcer described his impressive achievements. Dressed in a black Speedo and socks, Sfiso walked to the center of the mat. He raised his hands above his head to the applause of the audience. Then he ran, jumped, and attempted his signature backflip. Something went terribly wrong. Bodybuilding South Africa later offered a possible explanation. We suspect, because he was wearing socks this time, that he slipped or didn't get enough momentum and landed horribly on his head. He landed directly on his head and neck, breaking his neck on impact. His body rolled over and he lay motionless on the mat. For a few terrible seconds, the crowd continued cheering, not realizing what had happened. Then, as officials and competitors rushed to help and Sfiso remained unresponsive, the cheers turned to horrified silence. He was rushed to the hospital but pronounced dead on arrival from the fatal spinal injury. He was just 23 years old. The IFBB released a statement mourning the loss. It is with great regret and sadness that we have to report the passing away of Sfiso Lungelo Tabeta due to a fatal injury at the performance of an acrobatic at National Championship in South Africa. Sfiso Tabete was a young, talented athlete. A video of the incident went viral, and Sfiso's family pleaded for people to stop sharing it out of respect. Wayne Price from Bodybuilding South Africa spoke to their grief. We're aware of a video of the incident circulating on social media, as is Sfiso's family, and they're understandably very upset about that. His Instagram, which he had used to share his love for the sport, remains as a digital memorial. One post from Better Days reads, "I love this sport with all my heart." Antonio Lesso Braz de Souza. August 3, 2024 should have been one of the happiest days of Antonio Lesso Braz de Souza's young life. The 26-year-old Brazilian bodybuilder had traveled to Navegantes, Santa Catarina, to compete in the Navega Open Bodybuilding Championship. He was optimistic, confident, and ready to show the world what he was capable of, and he did exactly that. Despite reporting a strong pain in his chest, before taking the stage, Antonio pushed through and competed with everything he had. Incredibly, he earned a top 3 finish in his category and was awarded a trophy, a testament to his dedication and willpower. But the victory came at an unimaginable cost. Shortly after his posing routine, while still backstage at the competition, Antonio suffered sudden cardiac arrest. The medical team present at the event rushed to his aid, performing CPR and attempting every resuscitation technique available. But despite their best efforts, Antonio could not be saved. He died at the age of 26, his trophy still fresh from the judge's hands. The news was confirmed by his wife, Yone Silva, who shared a video of Antonio at the competition along with a devastating message. "Rest in peace, my eternal love. Life may be over, but my love will be forever. Your departure left a void, but your memory will remain." Silva later revealed to Brazilian news outlet G1 that Antonio had been using diuretics to prepare for the event, a practice that may have contributed to severe dehydration. "He was very dehydrated, very dry, unfortunately," she told the outlet. "This is an addictive and at the same time competitive sport. Antonio was very focused on this sport." Antonio had started his bodybuilding journey at just 15 years old. For him, the sport was more than a passion. It was a way to provide a better life for his family. His sister, Mary Braz, captured his driving motivation perfectly. His dream was to be recognized for doing what he loved and to be able to give our mother a better life. She added heartbreakingly, "He literally gave his life for this sport. He competed until his last breath." Just hours before the competition, Antonio had posted an optimistic video on his Instagram, sharing behind-the-scenes footage of his tan application and expressing hope for success. He attributed his lean appearance to divine favor and radiated the confidence of a man on the verge of achieving his dreams. His body was returned to his hometown of Manaus, where a funeral was held on August 6, 2024. Family, friends, and fellow athletes gathered to honor a young man who gave everything to the sport he loved. Long before the modern era of mass monsters and chemical protocols, there was a man who stood just 5 feet 2 inches tall, yet somehow managed to defeat giants. His name was Mohamed Benaziza, but the bodybuilding world knew him simply as Momo. Mohamed Momo Benaziza.
Mohamed Benaziza.
Ooh, a slow, deliberate approach for Mohamed Benaziza.
Born on March 24, 1959 in Tizi Ouzou, Algeria, Momo emigrated to France as a young man and discovered bodybuilding in his late teens. What he lacked in stature, he more than made up for in exceptional symmetry, conditioning, and muscle detail, becoming one of the most aesthetically admired pros of his era. In 1990, at the Night of Champions, Momo achieved the impossible. He defeated the future 6-time Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates. It was this victory that earned him his legendary nickname from Joe Weider himself, the Killer of Giants. The image was unforgettable. A 5'2" Algerian standing victorious over competitors who towered above him. His 1992 season was nothing short of phenomenal. He won 3 European Grand Prix events in a row: the Italian Grand Prix, the German Grand Prix, and the Dutch Grand Prix, leading into a 5th place finish at the Mr. Olympia. Momo was at the peak of his career, and the future seemed limitless. But on October 4th, 1992, just hours after winning the Dutch Grand Prix in Holland, tragedy struck. Fellow professional bodybuilder Porter Cottrell, who was also a firefighter and licensed emergency medical technician, witnessed Momo's final hours and later provided a graphic account of what happened. At the pre-judging, Momo left the stage several times, and it was clear something was wrong. He complained of shortness of breath and sickness, but repeatedly refused to go to the hospital. He was found dead in his hotel room at 6 p.m. shortly after the competition. The official cause of death was heart failure, primarily attributed to severe dehydration resulting from diuretic abuse, specifically the powerful diuretic Lasix. Rich Gaspari, the bodybuilding legend, later spoke about what happened. Momo Benaziza was always kinda puffy, and then one year he took extreme diuretics to get himself ripped. Well, it killed him. Gaspari added that Momo would take injectable Lasix to get in that condition, a particularly dangerous form of the drug. Porter Cottrell's account of finding Momo remains haunting to this day. Usually when someone dies, they go completely limp, but Momo's eyes, mouth, and fingers were still open. It was like even though he was dead, he couldn't relax. Cottrell added emotionally, "I'm used to doing CPR, but not on my friends. It was hard. It was weird. What makes me real sad is how much he must have suffered. Momo was trying to fulfill a dream, but he took it too far. His passing was, and in many ways still is, the most dramatic and high-profile death in bodybuilding history. At just 33 years old, the killer of giants was gone forever." His death sparked serious conversations about diuretic abuse in the sport, conversations that tragically continue to this day. If there is one name that has become synonymous with the dangers of extreme contest preparation, it is Andreas Munzer. The Austrian bodybuilder's death in 1996 remains one of the most infamous cautionary tales in the history of the sport, a stark warning about what happens when the pursuit of perfection becomes deadly. Born on October 25, 1964 in Pack, Styria, Austria, Andreas grew up in a working-class family and discovered bodybuilding as a teenager after being inspired by his fellow countryman, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Standing at just 5'6" to 5'7", Andreas was determined to overcome his average genetics through sheer discipline and an almost monastic dedication to his craft. And he succeeded, perhaps too well. Andreas developed one of the most shredded physiques in the sport's history. He was nicknamed the Human Anatomy Chart due to his visible muscle fibers, paper-thin skin, and virtually zero subcutaneous fat, or water. His conditioning was so extreme that you could see individual muscle striations that most bodybuilders could only dream of achieving. His career highlights included multiple top placements in IFBB Grand Prix events between 1990 and 1995, a 9th place finish at the 1993 and 1994 Mr. Olympia, and 7th place at the 1996 Arnold Classic, where he displayed arguably his most extreme condition ever. But that final competition would be his last. Days after the 1996 Arnold Classic, Andreas returned to Germany extremely dehydrated and severely ill. On March 12, 1996, he was admitted to a hospital in Munich with severe abdominal pain and internal bleeding. By 7 p.m. that evening, doctors had decided to operate to stop bleeding from his stomach, but his liver and kidneys failed shortly afterwards. His condition was too severe for even a blood transfusion. He died on the morning of March 14, 1996, at age 31. The official cause of death was dystrophic multiple organ failure. The autopsy revealed the horrifying toll that extreme bodybuilding had taken on his body. His liver contained numerous table tennis ball-sized tumors, with half the organ consisting simply of a crumbly mass. His heart weighed 636 grams, significantly larger than a normal man's heart, which typically weighs between 300 and 350 grams. His testes were shriveled, and traces of approximately 20 different drugs were found in his system, including massive diuretic abuse. Perhaps most disturbing of all, his body showed an almost complete absence of subcutaneous fat. The very condition that had made him famous on stage had essentially eaten him alive from the inside. While competing, he used a variety of ergogenic aids, including large amounts of potassium-sparing diuretics, possibly contributing directly to his death. It was later revealed that his electrolyte balance was severely disrupted, with dangerously high potassium levels. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the very man who had inspired Andreas to pursue bodybuilding, sent a wreath to Munzer's funeral in Styria with the message, "A last greeting to a friend." Andreas Munzer's death became a cautionary tale about the dangers of extreme contest prep. His case is frequently cited in discussions about the ethical boundaries and health consequences within professional bodybuilding. He achieved what he set out to do, create the most conditioned physique the world had ever seen. But the price he paid was everything. Elena Shpotova. On the morning of August 15, 2021, Elena Shpotova was exactly where she wanted to be, backstage at the Europa Pro Championships in Alicante, Spain, getting her final spray tan touch-ups before what she hoped would be her greatest performance yet. The 46-year-old Czech bodybuilder had qualified for the Miss Olympia in 2020, a lifelong dream, but had been forced to withdraw due to COVID-19 complications. Now she was determined to earn another qualification. She had placed second at the 2020 Europa Pro, and this year she wanted nothing less than first place. But Elena never made it to the stage. According to fellow Czech bodybuilder Ivana Dvorakova, who witnessed the tragic events unfold, Elena was hunched over a fan waiting for her spray tan to dry when she realized something was terribly wrong. She couldn't move. She was cramping again, just like she had at a competition in Portugal weeks earlier. Her voice quivered as she whispered words that still haunt those who heard them. "I won't be able to do it. I feel really ill." Dvorakova helped lay her down on the concrete floor as others gathered and gave Elena water, packets of salt, and sugar. Elena answered questions about the diuretics she had taken before convulsing and losing consciousness. Sources close to the event alleged that the ambulance took between 45 to 60 minutes to arrive. Elena passed away moments after leaving the venue. Some sources claim she may not have even made it to the hospital. The competition was delayed until approximately 11:30 a.m. as organizers grappled with the tragedy. The cause of death was linked to extreme peak week dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, and the cumulative toll of harsh contest preparation measures. Elena was known by friends and competitors for embracing the extremes of bodybuilding, the training, the dieting, the drugs. She pushed harder than most, believing that was what it took to compete at the highest levels. Jake Wood, owner of the Olympia competition, posted a response that promised change. "I am deeply shaken by the loss of Elena. I am not one for empty words. Instead of making posts, I'm making changes. We agreed that conditioning is overemphasized in the judging criteria, and something must be done."
I want to say thank you for big support for all, and I hope in Orlando on Olympia stage.
She was married and had 2 children, a family that waited for her to come home with another trophy, only to receive news that would shatter their world forever. Elena's death sparked calls for reform in judging criteria that reward extreme conditioning, forcing the industry to confront the deadly price athletes pay for plastic trophies and fleeting glory. Marola Sabanovic Suarez. Marola was born in Poland in 1976 and later moved to the United States, settling in the Florida area. She entered competitive bodybuilding in her 30s, quickly rising through the amateur ranks into the professional wellness and physique divisions. She earned her IFBB Pro card and made her professional debut at the 2019 Tampa Pro, placing 16th. She was known for her aesthetic lines and dedication under a coach who advocated extreme preparation methods. The Tampa Pro, held in August 2019, was one of her final competitions. Just days after competing at that show, the 43-year-old was found dead in her hotel bed. But it wasn't a paramedic or a hotel employee who discovered her, it was her teenage daughter. The official cause of death was heart attack, attributed to extreme dieting, training intensity, and the overall demands of contest preparation under her coach's regimen. The combination of severe caloric restriction, dehydration protocols, and pharmacological aids had taken their toll on her cardiovascular system, and her heart simply gave out. The tragedy deeply affected the women's physique community. Marola wasn't just a competitor, she was a mother, a daughter, an immigrant who had built a new life in America while chasing an incredibly demanding dream. Her death contributed to growing discussions about athlete safety and the responsibility coaches bear for the protocols they prescribe. Of all the deaths that have shaken the bodybuilding world in recent years, perhaps none sent shockwaves quite like the passing of George "Da Bull" Peterson. Known to fans as Da Bull, George was found dead in his Orlando hotel room on October 6, 2021, just one day before he was scheduled to compete at the Mr. Olympia, the most prestigious competition in all of bodybuilding. Born in 1984 in New York, George served in the U.S. military before pursuing bodybuilding full-time. His charismatic personality, massive shoulders, and thick musculature earned him a devoted following. He wasn't just respected as an athlete, he was beloved as a person. His competitive record was nothing short of remarkable. He won the 2019 Arnold Classic Physique title and later transitioned to the 212 division, where he placed 3rd at the 2020 Olympia. He was considered a future 212 Olympia contender and was scheduled to compete for the title he had spent his entire career chasing. The day before the competition, George's coach, Justin Miller, noticed something was wrong. He wasn't receiving responses from George, who was in his hotel room. After some time of no response, Miller called in security to open the door. What they found was devastating. George was lying face down, unresponsive, with blood around his nose. Miller immediately began chest compressions while security attempted CPR, but according to Miller, the EMTs and emergency personnel confirmed that Peterson had passed hours earlier. The Mr. Olympia Instagram page announced the news that shocked the world. It is with great sadness that we report the unexpected passing of George Peterson, a champion on stage and off. Our condolences go out to his family and all who respected and admired one of the kindest men we have ever known. In January 2022, the official autopsy report was released. The cause of death was listed as sudden cardiac dysrhythmia due to hypertensive cardiovascular disease. More significantly, the medical examiner noted that anabolic steroid use was a contributing factor. The toxicology report revealed the presence of anabolic steroids boldenone and stanozolol in his system. His heart weighed 500 grams, at the high end of the range for a normal male heart, but enlarged enough to contribute to his cardiovascular disease. His coach, Justin Miller, posted an emotional tribute that captured the raw devastation felt throughout the community. "I'm in shock, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm in disbelief, freaked out, I'm completely devastated. My hands are trembling as I type this. It feels like a nightmare, but at the same time, I know it's real." George Peterson was 37 years old. He was one day away from competing for the title that represented everything he had worked for. He left behind a legacy as one of the kindest men in bodybuilding and a stark reminder that no competition, no trophy, no title is worth dying for. Which story shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments and click the cards on screen for more.